Warning: viewer discretion is advised. Hi friends, welcome to Meals Done Alive For, where we talk about a true crime case and make a death row meal from scratch. I'm your host Jody Breton, and if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, all the things, so come find me. Today we're talking about a man named Marion Albert Pruett, also known as the Mad Dog Killer. Now, I couldn't find much about his upbringing, but we do know that he was born October 4th, 1949 in Gastonia, North Carolina, and that's essentially where he grew up. We also know that he was a pretty troubled kid. He joined a biker gang pretty early on and really enjoyed recreational drugs and alcohol, and that's where he originally got his nickname Mad Dog. Marion first went to jail at age 17 for petty theft, and this would be the start of a long string of offenses for him. Then by 21, he robbed a bank and ended up at the Atlanta penitentiary. One other interesting thing that I did learn about him, I just wasn't sure where to put it, is that he did lose an eye in childhood. So one of his eyes were a glass eye, like a prosthetic eye, and he used to like throw it in people's drinks so that way they wouldn't want it anymore and then he could drink it himself. So it's not very gentlemanly. While Marion was at the Atlanta State Penitentiary, he had been serving his sentence. At this point, he was in the penitentiary for 8 years, and in 1978, his cellmate was murdered. And this cellmate was an informant for a drug trial and was an informant for the police. Now, Marion claimed that he had witnessed the murder and testified against the murderer of that cellmate, but he would later say that he was actually responsible for the murder. So I'm not really sure which it was. He kept going back and forth about it, but it's worth noting. And because Marion decided to testify against the quote unquote killer for his cellmate, they granted him into the witness protection program. And what this would mean is that Marion got an entire new identity and he would be relocated. They also released him 11 months earlier than his original sentence so that he could start his new life. Now, Marion did have a girlfriend while in prison, and this girlfriend's name was Pamela Sue Barker. So, as soon as he was released, they got married and they were both given new identities. So, Marion's new identity was Charles Sonny Pearson, and his wife's new identity was Michelle Pearson. Now, for the sake of the story, I'm still going to call them Marion and Pamela just so that we don't get confused, but know that they were referred to as Michelle and Sonny for the rest of this case. The couple was relocated to New Mexico together and were even granted an allowance of $900 a month for 9 months while they were becoming self-sufficient. So they had a really good start in life together. It seemed like at first the couple was doing really well. Marion bought into a couple businesses, one being a trucker company, so they were making decent money and they seemed happy together. But this wouldn't last very long because in August 1980, so less than 2 years after he was paroled, he was charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest after a bar fight. But unfortunately, because he had a new identity through the witness protection program, it came up that he had no record. So ordinarily, he would have been sent back to prison for breaking parole. But because he had no record on paper, he was just given 6 months of probation. This would only be the start, though, because in New Mexico, April 16th, 1981, 2 gas company workers found a body. The body had been burned and the skull fractured. Police were pretty sure that this was Pamela Sue Barker, but just in case, they did ask her mother to confirm that she had been missing. But before they could issue an interrogation for Marion, he came in on his own accord and insisted that it was his wife. Marion had reported her missing 6 weeks earlier, or had said that she had gone missing and then made a report on March 2nd, 1981. While he was being interrogated, he did say that he was under a new alias and that he did have a criminal past. Local authorities did call the FBI, but they refused to give any information about his criminal background as it was against the Witness Protection Program. What they did say, though, is that the night before Pamela disappeared, she called one of the marshals from home and had said that she feared that her husband would kill her. The marshal told her to contact police in the morning. When I heard that, I wanted to pull my hair out. What do you mean she told you that she was in fear for her life and you said, call him in the morning? Obviously, she didn't make it to then. Local police did arrest him, but due to lack of evidence, they had to release him back into the public. 2 months later, a friend of Marion's, Bill Sherman, confessed that he saw Marion kill his wife and help dispose of her. Bill said that he was at Marion's house, and Bill at some point picked up a hammer and walked into their bedroom where he heard Pamela screaming, and soon after she stopped. After which they carried her to the trunk of their car and put her in the trunk and then drove her to the outskirts of New Mexico. There they burned her, where she would be discovered later by 2 gas company employees. Due to this new evidence, police issued a warrant for Marion, but he seemingly disappeared off the face of the planet. He was nowhere to be found. Marion would start drifting from place to place, never staying anywhere very long. On September 17th, 1981, he walked into a bank in Mississippi and robbed it. He left with about $7,000 and a bank loan officer named Peggy Lowe. What was really sad when I was reading about this is that he actually tried to take a different hostage, and Peggy offered herself up as a hostage because she saw how scared the other employees were, and I thought that that was so brave. She was definitely such a brave lady. Also, keep in mind at this point, they weren't sure that it was Marion. They had a sketch artist make a composite of him, and it wouldn't be discovered later until it was too late that it was Marion. So they were on the hunt for this unknown man and Peggy at the time. And after they had the composite sketch, they distributed it all over the US, and calls started rolling in, and it was all confirmed to be Marion, judging by the fingerprints. So they confirmed already that he had robbed banks in Texas, Florida, and even Washington when they realized it was Marion. Then in Fort Smith, Arkansas, October 12th, 1981, Marion walked into a convenience store, robbed it, and took Bobby Jean Robertson. He only got $163 in cash. Bobby was found shortly after in a nearby wooded area, and she was shot to death. 4 days later, and 800 miles away, police responded to a shooting in Loveland, Colorado at a 7-Eleven. Anthony Tate, the clerk, was shot 4 times and unfortunately died at the hospital. 13 miles away in Fort Collins, another 7-Eleven had been robbed, and again the clerk, who was James Boulderson, had been shot to death. FBI immediately suspected that this was the work of Marion Pruett, but unfortunately the local police were not seeing the correlation. But why would they? He was moving so fast to different places. The FBI was tracking it a little bit better because they already knew that he liked to travel and jump around from place to place. 2 days later in Amarillo, Texas, a state trooper pulled over Marion in a Cadillac. They found a .38 revolver underneath the seat, along with receipts from a 7-Eleven in Colorado and drug paraphernalia. Marion was extradited to Mississippi, and at that point, Peggy was still technically missing. 2 weeks later, Marion confessed that he had murdered Peggy, and October 28th, 1981, he took police to her body. Marion said that after he robbed the bank, he took Peggy 125 miles east into Alabama. He then made her take off her clothes and shot her to death. Right after he showed police Peggy's body, Marion announced that he was ready to leave and that he wanted breakfast, which honestly I feel like said a lot about him. That very same day, Marion also granted an interview towards reporters, which I'm going to let you listen to here.
No, I've become a mad dog killer. I've done so much cocaine. And I don't mind telling you, I killed the 2 people in Colorado and the 1 in Arkansas, too. That's how, about a $4,000 a week cocaine habit, okay? Peggy Lone's death was something that, it was just, I was too high, it was accidental, and it was something that shouldn't have happened.
You were high on cocaine?
Yeah, I was. That and methadone with ether base and crank.
Were you
California crank. You think so?
Okay, you said you're trying to embarrass the federal government. In what way?
And they let them tell everybody there that I was a government witness, and so was my wife. I started out just to rob banks and embarrass the government, and there was a killing involved. Then I got a little bit more crazier. The police in Texas did not apprehend me. I let them catch me. I guess, surely you're aware of that. I mean, me with a 30, if I've killed 5 people when I got a 38 under the seat, what the hell am I doing going through town 69 miles an hour and not pulling a gun on them?
Despite Marion being candid about the murders, he still pled not guilty. But he would go on to receive the death penalty for the murder of Peggy Lowe in Mississippi and another death sentence for Bobby Jean Robertson in Arkansas. Marion would then plead guilty to the murder of Anthony Tate and James Boulderson and received 2 life sentences for their 2 murders. Finally, Marion would go back to New Mexico for the murder of his wife Pamela, but oddly enough, he was adamant that he did not unalive her, despite the fact that there were witnesses and an overwhelming amount of evidence. However, he was convicted of first-degree murder and received yet another life sentence. 2 weeks before his execution, Marion gave one last interview that I'm going to play for you here.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you trying to tie the last meal on death row guys in with the Last Supper of Christ? It's been so many years since I had junk food out on the streets. I'm going to order one of them big Pizza Hut pizzas with a cheese in the ring. I'm going to order about 4 big Burger King Whoppers and French fries and about 3 big 2-liter Pepsis, a bucket of ice, a bottle of ketchup, some salt, and I want a big plate of eggplants rolled in cornmeal deep fried, and then some squash rolled in cornmeal deep fried, and some okra rolled in cornmeal deep fried, and a big pecan pie. And I'm going to eat from, you say I can do that, I'm going to get my money's worth out of that last meal. Buddy, I was a devil. I mean, I wasn't nothing nice. How could I honestly take a life and say you can't take mine? I got no beef whatsoever with mankind. But I believe in my heart I should die for what I've done. I really do. But the last 17 years, the one thing it's done, it gave me a chance to receive the Lord and to get to study this Bible for 14 years. And I'm at peace now, man. I know I'm forgiving them, you know. And that's going to be my last words.
Marion Albert Pruett would be put to death on April 12, 1999 by lethal injection. His last words were, "I would like to ask all the people that I have ever hurt and their families for forgiveness, for me for all the pain, and I forgive everybody for what's about to happen to me." There was a little bit of conflicting information in regards to his last meal. If you listen to the interview that he just said, he also said that he wanted fried okra and pecan pie, but I couldn't confirm that he got all of that. And when I looked it up, some sources said that he had a pizza, 4 cheeseburgers, fries, and a banana split with a Pepsi, which is what I made. But other sources also say that he had okra and a pecan pie along with it. So I'm not really sure which was which, but that's what we went with. As for this last meal, honestly, I was pretty happy with this one. It seemed really well balanced. It had really good food. It had a drink. It had a dessert. So honestly, I really enjoyed this one. I love me a good banana split. So I would give this one a 9 out of 10, actually. So I definitely enjoyed it. Well, I hope you guys liked today's episode. I thought it was pretty crazy. It was definitely different. Please be safe and make good choices. Please do not go to convenience stores or gas stations alone, and please don't work at them if you can avoid it because it's not safe. I will see you guys on the next one. Drop a comment down below if you had any comments about this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.